That's right, the churn in Afghanistan poses a challenge for Kashmir. That's because turbulence in this part of the world is rarely contained. It crosses borders, ballooning into a regional crisis. Neighbors inevitably get pulled in. And for India, Kashmir is the big worry. We are in the middle of peak infiltration season now, the summer months. This is usually when terrorists sneak into Kashmir. But the border has been relatively quiet this time. This is what Indian officials reported in early June. 100 days of zero infiltrations and ceasefire violations. 100 days. New Delhi wants to keep it that way. But if things escalate in Afghanistan, that could change. Let me explain why. The last time the Taliban were in power, terrorists ran riot. They had a free pass to mobilize, to cross borders and to spread terror. Standing ready to help them was Pakistan. This story dates back to the 1980s. Back then, America was training insurgents against the Soviet Union. Their biggest mistake? Roping in Pakistan. So the Pakistanis taught the insurgents a lot more than fighting. They were radicalized. Afghan insurgents became jihadi war machines. And in 1989, they routed the Soviets. Mission successful. But what next? Where would these radicalized insurgents go? Pakistan started sending them across the border to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, if you look at the chronology, it fits perfectly. Kashmiri separatism in 1989 was nationalist. It was a homegrown affair. But in the early 1990s, it became radical and Islamist. Could a repeat be on the cards then? The Taliban themselves may not send terrorists to Kashmir, but there are more sinister groups biding their time. And chief among them is the Al-Qaeda. They thrive during chaos, and that's precisely where Afghanistan is heading, civil war and chaos. In February 2020, the Taliban promised to cut ties with Al-Qaeda, but there's no evidence that they have. Instead, the Al-Qaeda has become emboldened. They're attacking journalists, activists, and women leaders. Last month, terror attacks claimed more than 4,300 lives, and most of them were perpetrated by Al-Qaeda. Let me pull up a United Nations report on the Taliban-Al-Qaeda nexus. I'll show you the key findings. Number one, the Al-Qaeda still operates under the Taliban safety umbrella. Finding number two, the nexus has grown deeper with bonds of marriage and in some cases second-generation ties. Number three, Al-Qaeda operates in at least 15 Afghan provinces. That's nearly half the country. Their leadership is based in the Pak-Afghan border region. And number four, Al-Qaeda is lying low to help the Taliban. They're keeping things quiet since the Taliban is getting an image makeover. What's the takeaway here? The Al-Qaeda is not going anywhere. They're just waiting for the Americans to leave. The next question is, how long before they fix their eyes on Kashmir? The Americans have prepared a threat assessment. This is what Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin reported to the Congress.
How would you rate the likelihood of international terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS regenerating inside of Afghanistan and presenting a threat to our homeland or our allies, given what you see today?
I would assess it as medium. I would also say, Senator, that it would take possibly 2 years for them to develop that capability.
2 years. That's what the Pentagon thinks. But remember, this assessment is for America. Al-Qaeda may not take as long to strike in the neighborhood. They already have multiple sleeper cells in the subcontinent, not to mention dozens of jihadist offshoots. One of them is the TRF, the Resistance Front, TRF. This group has carried out a string of attacks in Kashmir. Indian intelligence suggests that they are a smokescreen used by the Lashkar-e-Toiba. So their godfather is Pakistan. India must be wary of this new nexus in Kashmir, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, TRF nexus. Here's the worst case scenario. Afghanistan descends into chaos. Al-Qaeda uses this window to mobilize. Their sleeper cells in India are activated and months of relative peace in Kashmir is disrupted. It is clear that the turbulence will spread. What India needs to do is fasten the seatbelts and be on high alert because peace in Kashmir depends on peace in Kabul. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.